All right, everybody. First, I'd like to just start by saying that all of what I'm doing is being archived now on creative-alchemy.one. This includes the latest episodes of our first season of shows that we've created. Next one will come out probably sometime later this weekend or early next week, and that'll be our third video, which we're quite excited about. In addition, I've started doing this live streaming to show different workflows and to basically do online training for people and just share what I know, what I'm working on, some of the ideas that I'm thinking about, and how I'm using these different tools and softwares that we have available to us. So I am just going to go through this workflow and share a little bit about what I'm attempting to do with Alembics at the moment. So Alembics are a file type that was developed by people at ILM and Pixar as a way of being able to essentially bake down the core components of a particular animation or a particular sequence of events within a 3D world and be able to share that easily between different software packages so that the same idea could be easily transferred around as a cache. And it's supposed to be more efficient, although I've heard some arguments to the latter, but it's supposed to be more efficient so that you can also do duplicates of that same idea as an instance, and it works particularly efficiently at that particular type of activity. So let's get started. First, I am going to be using Maya. So let's switch over to Maya, and let me just double check quickly that I'm doing Maya. Yep, we're all good. Maya's running. Cool. So we're going to start with Maya. And I have been exploring some of the pre-made ideas that are in the content browser. And in particular, I've been looking at the MASH examples. So I wanted to try something tonight. I'm taking this MASH example that we have here. I'm just going to shut this. And what this is this is a fall-off scale. And the fall-off scale is affecting a field of these cone shapes, both in the size and scale of them, but also in their position and rotation. So as this animation goes, we get a reveal of this object, and then it disappears. And this is a really good example of being able to utilize something and use the 3D animation that's already been developed and do something with it as far as an Alembic goes, because we can actually bake the experience that's happening for this particular mesh over time and then bring that into another software. How the setup was for the UVs. And now I'm going to do a special piece about UVs. I'm working on that shortly. What I want to do for this at the moment is that I'm going to just go into Maya's UV editor. And I'm just going to hit automatic. Actually, before I do that, let me undo that. First, let's look at the UVs. Currently, all of our different cones, every single one is actually sharing the same UV space. So they're actually stacked on top of each other. So I could grab one of these and I could slide it to the side. And there's another one. And there's another one. And there's another one, right? So they're actually all stacked on top of each other. I'm going to put this over here to the side. And let's just look at what happens this into a software like Notch, where we can actually bake any effect that we are creating in our environment directly into our 3D model and bake it directly into these UVs. So when I make my final video output from Notch, it's actually going to be this, it's going to look like this UV that we have here with all of these different cones laid out in this particular way. So cool. So I'm going to shut that. That's now made. we don't have to really do anything else. Maya's pretty much done this in this example. I have no idea who created this, but thank you. If you made this, let me know. That would be awesome. So what we're going to do is I want to just go to my cache. Now, really important, when you first install Maya of any type, you're going to need to go into settings and preferences, go into your plugin manager, and in your plugin manager, you're going to need to turn ABC export and ABC import on. Okay, that's going to be really important. So ABC export, ABC import, they both want to be on. That way you can actually have Alembic files inside your Maya project. So I'm going to close that, and then what I want to do is I've selected the 3D model that we've got. I'm now going to go to cache, Alembic cache, and I'm going to export that selection to Alembic. Now, I want to use my time slider, which is 120 frames. We know that that animation worked really well for us. It appeared and disappeared. We can loop that. That's cool. I also want to make sure that down here we have UV right, right UV sets, and world space. Now, I don't actually know if D3 recognizes this in the future or UV. I know that this particular setup does work for me both in Notch and in D3, but both of them have done different implementations of Alembic files into their systems, and both of them are pretty much incomplete from what is actually possible. So a real push out to the developers out there. Would really like to make sure that the other types of features that you can actually use in Alembic for are maybe considered about being able to go in, because currently there are some limitations, but I'm not going to go into that right now. I'm just going to keep going. So we're going to save that. So I'm just going to save this to my desktop, right? So on my desktop, I want to call this, we might do a disguise project. Actually, that is part of the point. So I'm going to do a disguise project. I'm going to, yeah, I think you'll see this actually. So I've made a piece here. I just called it reactive. I'm going to open my project folder. And I want to put this into my mesh folder. I'm going to copy that location, go to D3, go to my Maya project, paste that in, and now I'm going to call this today's date, 2003, that's 2003 Alembic test. Okay, so I'm going to export that. And that's going to export out it's actually going to make the animation. It's going to show us what that looks like. And that's actually baking 120 frames of that animation. So now that I've put it into, or exported out of Maya, I'm actually done with Maya. So I'm going to jump over to Notch. So we should now have you seen my Notch window, and you are awesome. So now I'm in my Notch scene. I need to import my resource, and I'm going to go here. It's going to be an Alembic scene that I want to import, and it's currently in my documents, and it's going to be in my objects folders, mesh, Alembic. So I can now bring that in. And I'm going to now add that to my scene. I already put a light in my scene because I wanted to see what that looked like. And now, ooh, there we go. So I'm going to zoom my camera out. Let's make this an omni light, and let's increase our scattering intensity. Yeah, okay, so we'll move that up. Okay, so now check that out. So this is within a few minutes in having this in Notch, and we are within a few minutes of having this inside Notch, and we are already getting some pretty cool effects. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so what's now that we've got our Alembic in here, and now as I scrub my timeline, you can see it's appearing and disappearing. Now let's try and play with some materials, because the real the end result here that we're trying to do is actually to bake the effect of what's going on these surfaces, and then be able to bring that into Notch so that we can see it live in Notch. We can export the result of Notch and bring it into our disguise project. So the first thing we need to do in order to be able to do that process is we need to do a UV camera. So I'm going to type in UV camera here, search for that, drag it in, and I'm going to bring that in. I also need to tie to the 3D mesh shape that we have. So actually I need to come... Okay, so now when I open my second piece, there we go. So there's our UV with the effects of our light on our surface right now. The other thing we need to do is think about materials. So let's have a look at materials. Now, first thing is in here I want to turn on, I have turned on enabling ray tracing. Now I'm going to play with ray tracing. I haven't done a lot with Notch, I'll be honest. So if any Notch people are out there and they want to make any recommendations to me about some materials or some nodes that I should be looking at to be able to, like, I don't know, really do high-level, shiny, mirrored reflections off of stainless steel, or maybe some interesting glass with chromatic aberration, something that really does some cool like color or twisting of and deforming based on like thickness and stuff. I'm all up for that type of stuff. Let's check it out. So for me, I know that I'm kind of interested in what this glass RT material does. So why not? We're gonna bring it in. Add some RT material now. Now I'm gonna bring this in as the material for bring it in as the material for my object here. Now, I think we need to adjust a few things. So I'm going to try. Let's just have a look at what the options are. This is where I get a little bit out of my depth in this because I have not used these materials very much. Let's bring in cool. So what I'm now doing is I've now got a metallic reflective material on all of those nodes, and so now they will now appear and disappear, but also reflect this light that's going through here. So we can now animate the position of this light, which would be kind of cool. So let's go back to our beginning and let us for this light, we're going to keyframe its position. Sorry, just let me get rid of that for a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a null. And then I'm going to bring in my light. And that light is going to be an omni light, and we're going to raise its scattering intensity. And we're going to change its color. Okay. So now I've got that one, and let's now take this, and we can now going to keyframe our rotation here. So let's go now to the end, and we're going to make these just -359, and make this one. Why isn't that inheriting transformations? Whew, that's not what I expected. Alright, well, let's get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. We'll put a light in. We're just going to animate its path. So, to start with, let's take it, let's just see where it goes to. So, so let's see, start of the time slider. And go that way. So let's just set position. Okay, so now let's have a look at what happens in UV space. Okay, now I think we're going to need to create some kind of a skybox as well, just because we need some more reflections on our piece here. So for a skybox, I'm just going to go online for a moment, and I'm going to look up skybox texture, and I'm going to find myself a skybox texture like this one's pretty good. Oh, maybe this one, nighttime, daytime. I don't really know how they like to have their I can do something more abstract with that skybox texture. Actually, let's. What happens if I do like an emissive material? Into my skybox image. Can I do that? No. It wants an image. don't really know what the UV for the skybox is, though, do I? Let's see. Do they tell me? Anyone know by chance what the... Let's see. We want... Let's do an rectangular. That'll be better. Let's do an rectangular skybox. We will do... this one's pretty good. No, how about this one? So let's say that to our desktop. And then we can import that as a image. I'm trying to see what the options are for the reflections. Yeah, so that's all in there. Placement, normal, displacement, parallax, UV map, texture mode. Can I reflect? If anyone out there knows, in fact, let me ask Berto. Is Berto on? Can I get a reflection of a... So I'm asking Michael Afar because he's online. Let's see who else is online. Maybe Berto. Berto. Can I reflect a skybox into a metallic RT metallic texture? Let's see what Berto has to say. Anybody else has any thoughts on this? I'd appreciate it. So while I'm waiting for that answer, because to be honest, I don't use this software very much. This is not my scene. When I get over to D3, that's really my area. That's kind of fun. I wonder if I also need... specular map skybox. Okay. If I go to my UV now, see, not quite what I'd expect. I mean, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but I kind of want more. So let's have a look at thickness. Ooh, there we go. A little bit of edge lighting, maybe. Yeah, okay, cool, let's see. Okay, that's working better. Cool, I think that's enough that we can try. So what I'm gonna do now is let's export out. Let us export out as a video. So we're going to go to the export settings, and we want to use we are going to go out notch LC. Yep, that's true. We're going to do 30 seconds. I really want to use, we're going to put this totally someplace different. Let's go to our D3 projects. I called this reactive for some reason. We're going to put this into a video file. We're going to call this today's date, 21/03/20 test. We'll save that. Now, how... I'll render an alpha channel. Active scene camera. I think that's it. Let's see. So we need to do this at 1280/720. So because I'm using PLE at the moment, so that's what is going on there. So let's see. 1280. We need to do 1280/720. Doesn't really matter for our purposes. I don't really care. 1280/720. In fact, we could probably render this even smaller, but we'll just render to 1280/720. Oh, it's 1280/720 at 30 is absolutely fine. And yeah, we'll do that. Let's do ray trace refines 3. Yeah. Nope, that's all good. Active scene camera, fine. Let's go. Now, just as a quick comment. Now, yes, if normally I could take a notch block out as well, but again, I'm not using. I'm just using PLE to do some testing tonight. I'm not using Builder Pro, so I don't have that access to that at the moment. But I also don't have a playback license. So rather than showing you watermarks, we're just going to test this, see what this looks like. This is purely for fun, you know. So cool. So I've made a movie. That's all rendered now. That's how fast that happened. So now let's go to my D3 project and start to put these pieces together. Cool. So I'm now opening D3. So let's switch over to D3. And now I'm in D3. Okay. So in D3, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rescale this all down. We're going to make this the resolution of our video file. And we're going to grab our Alembic test file here. We need to put in an animate object layer. And 1, we're going to change the animate value to 1. That's all you have to do. So now you have 0 and you have 1 of this particular object, because that's all we need. So now I'm going to put 0 at the beginning, and I'm going to put 1 right now 15 seconds in. And we can actually see already that Alembic has actually come in. Now, what we can now do is that we can play a video file. So we're going to add a video layer. And that video file that we've just rendered at a notch as a notch LC file, test video. That test video is now going to play on screen 1. So now we can move my 3D controls, because I don't need those. I also don't need that projector in there because, well, We don't need it. Let's bring this guy back down to 0. Now, let's see. If we play this video file now, let's play it both sides. Yeah, not as clean as I would have liked. I'll be honest. Well, you know, we tried something, so there we go. So, apparently, D3 is not liking that UV file. Because I thought it looked prettier than that. But that's okay, that's alright. Very interesting. Cool. So people at D3, there you go. that just shows you what's happening with your files when we try to play with them in this particular workflow. Yeah, pretty cool. So just to recap, basically I have made an Alembic from a MASH example file. Which was these cones that were animating and coming out in this. We've put that into D3, where we've done a video layer and also an animate object, so that we can see that animation happening inside D3. But as we said, the playback of the video is not great. Maybe I'll try just doing it out of Notch now. Let's try and turn alpha off. See if that helps. So let's export a video. Let's export this video, and instead of doing let's make sure that we are not using alpha. Where is alpha? No immersion blur. I thought we had alpha as part of that setup. Let's go export video. We'll try again. So, I think I've got guests that have just arrived, so we'll see. Hold on. I do. Okay, well, I think I'm going to finish for now. That was 35 minutes. I think there's only one person watching anyway, so I'm going to stop for now. That was my exploration this evening of Alembic, Maya into Notch, into Disguise. Please send me any questions you got. I will share a link to this entire project, all 3 parts, later tomorrow after I've had some sleep. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good night. Again, check out this and other episodes of my live stream, but also of the episodes we're doing for Creative Alchemy 1 on our website, creative-alchemy.1, and look forward to sharing with you more.